Thank you for joining us. Now let's get a different perspective on the legality of the action of the Department of State Services from a senior advocate of Nigeria, Norison Quaker.
We operate a constitutional democracy. By the provision of the Constitution, Section 1 sub 1, it says it is supreme and has a binding force or authority over persons and authorities. If that is the case, you have various agencies that are creation of statutes. Therefore, they all derive their powers from their various statutes creating them. In relation to the DSS, it is also a creation of statutes. Its powers are well defined under the National Securities Act, and there is no provision there in relation to corruption or bribery. Now, you have some offenses that have been categorized as financial crimes, and therefore you have agencies of government that are responsible to investigate and prosecute. One of such agencies is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the police, and also the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission in relation to public officers who have abused their office. Therefore, if you look at the enabling laws of all of these agencies, you then now appreciate who has the power to do what. My opinion from the law, I don't think the DSS has the power to investigate allegations of corruption, particularly when I listen to the director when this whole thing unfolded, the very first press conference. He did say that the judges were found to be culpable in relation to professional misconduct and also corruption. I mean, so it's clear. Question is, can they do that? My own answer is yes. But again, because what we're seeing is just failure of governance that have been established by the various statutes. Therefore, some people feel that some agencies who ought to have performed a certain function is not performing the function. So you now have agencies that are now interloping powers or functions. So usurpation of powers. My position, clearly the DSS can do what they have done.
Assuming without conceding that the DSS has the powers to investigate or arrest suspects on bribery and corruption charges, do they also have the powers to do this at 1 a.m. in the middle of the night, or in the very early hours of the morning, or even break down the doors and windows?
No, in terms of what you call execution of warrants, for instance, enforcement agencies under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act are empowered to execute warrants any time of the day, including public holidays, including weekends and public holidays. The key word used in the law is access. But before that can happen, before they can break down doors, before they can have forceful entry, as it were, you must first be notified. In other words, the occupant of the house must be notified that, look, we have come. Now, it is only when their access is fettered or hindered that the law now says that they will need to use reasonable force to gain access or to gain entry.
People have argued that the issue of corruption falls under national security. That is, corruption of judges falls under national security, which would be under the purview of the DSS.
What is the place of the DSS in relation to corrupt judges? Because it borders on security. You can't stretch it. You can't expand security. The law on that is clear and well defined. The allegation against these judges is in relation to 1, professional misconduct, 2, corruption. Now, if you allege professional misconduct, there's an agency of government or an extension of government, the National Judicial Council, that is responsible. Mind you, the law is an instrument of social engineering. And the only way we can have a sane society is where the law is allowed to take its course. Therefore, if a judge is corrupt, the National Judicial Council is responsible by the Constitution.
If the NJC has lived up to its expectations, I don't think we'll be where we are at the moment. But what is due process in, investigating and punishing a judge?
A federal high court judge is to be sanctioned or be laid off by the president. The high court judge of a state, the power is vested in the governor of the state. But in both instances, recommendation will be made by the National Judicial Council. Therefore, if a judge is found to be culpable of abuse of judicial oath of office, not criminality, right? Recommendation will be made for his dismissal, outright dismissal. If he's found to be corrupt, outright dismissal. Now, after he has been dismissed, you then now commence his criminal prosecution. Now, these judges who have been exposed to living lives beyond their means or projecting a lifestyle that is incompatible with their judicial office can no longer go back to the bench because now they've been exposed. And there are many more like that.
What ripple effect do you think this will have on the judiciary, on lawyers in general?
Quite frankly, right now, both good and bad judges will now be edgy. Generally, what has happened now, it has instilled fear in the hearts of all, including lawyers as well. But the danger now is you will no longer have justice being dispensed without fear or favor. The other day we were discussing and we said the maiden of justice wear a blindfold in order to dispense justice without fear or favor. What has happened now is that the maiden has used her own hand to lift the veil to see what is going on, and that shouldn't happen.
Well, there are different sides to every story. It will take again the interpretation of the courts to determine who is correct or not. But in the meantime, lawyers have also been speaking on the fight against corruption and the process. Does the process really matter, or does the end justify the means? And the fight against corruption, are we getting it right?
I'm very, very happy about the sanitization. I recall Justice Kayode Osho of blessed memory when he made the comment that now we have billionaire and millionaire justices. And I'm sorry to say, the NJC has not been doing its duty as it should.
The fight against the corruption under the President Buhari, ordinarily is commendable because it is first of its kind, and it is corruption that has brought this country to the situation we have today.
Well, it's a fight that I would say that every and any well-meaning in Nigeria will be supportive of. Of course, it reminds me of what the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, said some years back, that corruption could poison the soul of nationhood. And of course, we see that in every fabric of our country, that it is actually eating deep, and it's something that everybody must have to be worried about, and something that everybody must be interested in, seeing how we could eliminate, if not eradicate to a point. So it's something that I support, and everybody I wish, I believe, supports as well.
The government has the wherewithal and to fight it, and they are fighting it, and I'm happy they are fighting it, because one thing is to have the will. Before now, I think the will was not manifested in the way we find it today. Even the blind man sees that corruption is being fought in Nigeria. The procedure is another story, but the important thing is that it's being fought, and at least people now know that they are accountable for their deeds, either when they are in power or when they are out of power.
All said, it looks like the fight against corruption is one that won't go away anytime soon, as the EFCC says they will be probing 8 more judges. So if your hands are clean, you have nothing to fear. But if otherwise, I rest my case. And that will do it for us on the program today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad to have been your host this past few weeks. I'm Victoria Ido. Till I see you again, live positively.